and welcome back to the Girly Girl Bookworm. So today, I have my favorite reads of 2020. So most people are really nice and they like to make their top 10. I am the most indecisive person you have ever met. So this year, like last year, I felt like I did like my favorite book of the month books. And like I split it all up like that, and I thought I was doing. And I stopped. This time I decided I'm going to split it up into categories. So, like, my favorite historical fiction books, my favorite this. So that way, like, I could share more favorites than just 10 because I just want to share them all. I want to share all my love for all of them. So I have a category for nonfiction. I have a category for historical fiction, romance, contemporary / like literary fiction, thriller and mystery, ebooks, because I don't physically have them, so they're in their own category, fantasy, and magical realism. So we're just going to get started. So why don't we start off with the ebooks, just because I don't have them and it'll be easier just to keep them all in one place. So my favorite ebooks this year, we're going to start off with The Anti-Virginity Pact by Katie Wismer. She is a YouTuber. The sequel is coming out this year. It's called The Anti-Relationship Year. I'm really excited for that one because I heard that it's a bit different than the first one, because the first one really is following our character in high school, and the spin-off book that's coming out is going to be about her friend through her college years, so it's more of a new adult romance. So I'm excited to see where Katie takes it. This one was just really interesting because I felt like this one really pushed the boundaries. So if you don't like your boundaries being pushed, I wouldn't necessarily pick this one up. I know she's gotten a lot of hate for kind of pushing the envelope a little bit. So if you don't like that, you're not going to like this one. But I thought it was a really fun debut novel from her, and I'm looking forward to reading her next one. Then I really enjoyed Match Cut by Julie Olivia. I think that's it. I've read 2 books by her this year. I read this Match Cut, and I read Thick of Thieves. And I really like Match Cut because it was a very small town romance. She had reached out to me asking me if I wanted to read it, and I had never even heard of her as an author, and I'm so glad that I said yes, because I definitely have found a new favorite indie romance author, and I definitely eventually want to collect her books in person too, so I could actually have them to hold up, because her covers are so fun and so pretty. And this one, like I said, was a small town romance, and she told me, because I said there better be a book too, because there's another side character in this that I really want a storyline from. She said yes. I haven't seen it yet, so it better come out. And then Inside of the Mountain, which I have the sequel. The sequel comes out in January. I have that one. This one is a YA historical fiction novel, and it is a lot of fun. It takes place in the 1800s with a woman who is set on summiting Mount Rainier and her journey to do so, which is totally not something that women did at the time, and it was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed reading that one this year. Alex 6, which is on Kindle Unlimited, and guys, you need to go check this book out. If you like Verity and you like twisted, really kind of like messed up thrillers, you are going to love this one. I did not anticipate picking this one up the day I did, and when I did, I could not put it down. Highly recommend. And then the last one that I read on ebook was He Started It by Samantha Downing. I was originally supposed to get a physical copy of it for a review, but then obviously pandemic hit and they stopped sending out ARCs. So I did get it on my Kindle, and it was another one where I could not stop turning the pages. It was intense and insane, and I still am like dumbfounded by the ending. Now let's get to the physical books. Okay, so let's start magical realism, because they happen to be the closest ones to me without falling over. So magical realism is a new genre to me this year, and I don't have a ton of experience with it, but I have to say I think almost every magical realism book I picked up is in here because I enjoyed them that much. So we've got The Scent Keeper by Erica Braumeister, and this was a Reese Witherspoon pick. I really did not think I was going to like this one, and this one surprised me. It has to do with scents and memories and just beautiful story. Then another one that I did not anticipate liking either was Went Out of Order by Margarita Montemor. This was not on my radar at all. And then I got an ALC copy, which means advanced listening copy, through Libro FM, and I listened to it, and I liked it so much that I went and bought myself a physical copy. Like, I just needed to have it on my shelf. So I really enjoyed this one. It's about Una, who one day, I think she's like 19, it's New Year's Eve, and all of a sudden she wakes up and she's like way older. And so she finds out on New Year's Eve of every year she is now going to bounce to a new body, whether it's younger, whether it's older. She doesn't know. She has no control over it, and that's how she lives her life. And it was really interesting, and I really liked this one. Then I think this one would be considered magical realism. This is In 5 Years by Rebecca Searle, and I really enjoyed this one as well. This one we are following our main character, and she kind of lives her life. She expects everything. She knows what she wants to do in 5 years. She knows she wants to be married. She knows she wants to have a promotion. She knows where she wants to be. And one day she has a dream, and this dream is showing her in a completely different home with a completely different fiance, and it really messes with her. And then fast forward 5 years, and the guy from her dream comes into her life and flips it upside down. This one, I bawled my bloody eyes out. It's a very emotional read. It's not light and fluffy. It's not fun. It is going to put your heart through the ringer. And I still get emotional thinking about it. So definitely a good read. Then something else that I picked up this year, which is completely not like me, and that is fantasy. I got really into fantasy books this year, and type of like dystopian worlds again. Like, I got back into that, and I haven't been into that in a very long time. So it was very surprising to find 5 that really resonated with me, that I really wanted to share. So I've got House of Salt and Sorrows by Erin A. Craig. This was a last second like buddy read with Kendra. She had put it in her TBR, and I was like, ooh, I really want to read that this month too. And she's like, want to read it this weekend? I said, sure. And we devoured this book. Like at one point we were like pretty on pace with each other, and at one point I'm like, Kendra, I just finished it. I like couldn't stop. So it was phenomenal. It's a 12 Dancing Princesses retelling. Erin A. Craig has a new book that's coming out in 2021, which I should have put in my anticipated reads and I forgot to. It's got like bees on the cover. It's stunning, and I can't wait, because if it's anything like this one, I know I will just speed read it. So I'm excited for that one. But yeah, 12 Dancing Princesses retelling. So captivating, so engaging. I'm so mad that it took me this long to pick it up. Another one that I got severely addicted to this year was Crave by Tracy Wolff. I saw this one on Instagram, and I just had to pick it up. And I know it's been compared to Twilight, but to me, I think it's better than Twilight. This has dragons, this has werewolves, this has vampires, this has a whole bunch of witches. We are following our main character. Her parents have just recently died. She has to go live with her uncle, and he is a principal of a supernatural school, and she doesn't know that. So, surprise. It was really good. Why haven't I listened to you guys sooner? This was so good. I didn't think I was gonna like this. I got this at a whim. It was like $8. I was like in a fantasy mood during the pandemic, and I was like, here we go. This was so good. I can't wait to read book 2, because everybody keeps telling me book 2 is better than this one. So hopefully I'll get to continue the series, and book 4 comes out this year. I do plan, if I do really like book 2, to repurchase this one in the pretty matching edition, because I have the pretty edition for book 2, so hopefully I will get book 1 repurchased this year if I like that one. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V. Schwab. I didn't know where to put this. I'm assuming it's fantasy. I don't even think I need to tell you what this one's about, because it's been literally everywhere on Instagram and YouTube and everywhere, and I thought I would hate it because I don't ever do books that are hyped. This one was so good. It's slow, so go into it expecting it to be slow, because if you expect a fast read, you're not going to get it, and you're going to be really disappointed. But this one was really good, and it makes me want to like go back and read other books by her, because this was beautiful. And then this one's a dystopian read, so not necessarily fantasy, but I didn't know where else to put it. And that is Masterclass by Christina Dulcher. This one is about a world where you're kind of given like a green card, a yellow card, or white card, green card, yellow card? I think it depends, wherever you rank with your IQ and things like that, that's where you are in society, and obviously you want the best card. And this woman is a teacher, and her husband is basically one of the creators of this program that sorts people, and every month your kids basically get tested, and they get to go to the green school, or they get to go to the white school. And her kids right now, I believe, are in the green school. She teaches in the white school or something. And one of her kids basically bombs this, which means that they're going to get picked up by a bus and they're not going to be brought back. And so she like finds her way to try to get her daughter back, and it was just insane and so good. And I really want to go back and read her first book, Vox, because this one was so phenomenal and made me rediscover my love of dystopian novels. And I really just want all the adult dystopian novels there are now. Okay, I don't know how to take this stack down. I think this is my mystery thriller stack. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, because I enjoyed a bunch of them this year. So I'm just going to go through them really quickly because, again, I think they're ones that everybody knows about, so I don't have to speak too much about them. Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. Do I need to say more? Probably not, right? The End of Her by Sherry LaPena. I love Sherry LaPena. She's an autobi author for me. This was not my favorite by her, but it's still one of my favorites of the year. The Last House Guest by Megan Miranda. I've enjoyed All the Missing Girls and The Perfect Stranger by her, and this one was no different. I loved this one and gave this one 5 stars. Good Girls Lie by J.T. Ellison, 4.5 stars. Gets a little drawn out because it is super long for a thriller, but she just has such a way of captivating me with her books that I want all of her books. One that I cannot stop gloating enough about is The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose, and this is phenomenal and exactly what I needed. A huge page turner. I didn't see the ending coming. My jaw was on the ground. I'm obsessed, and I can't stop screaming the praises for this. If you didn't see in my other video, I talked about how I sent this to Kendra. I sent this to Shelby because I just want my love of this book out there because it is so good. The Guest List by Lucy Foley. I feel like I talk about this in every video because it's phenomenal. Listen to the audiobook. The Holdout by Graham Moore. I want to go back and reread this one. I don't know why. There's something about this one that just makes me want to go back and reread it. It was such a good legal thriller that I wasn't expecting to love. I skipped out on this one that month that it was a choice, and then the next month I got it, and I'm so glad that I went back for it because it's worth the read. The Last Flight by Julie Clark. I've read this with Kendra as our monthly buddy read back in August. Slower paced, but phenomenal. We all really, really enjoyed that one. And then the last one is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. Dying for the sequel so much because I miss Pip and I want to know what Pip's up to because this one was just really, really good and I didn't see anything coming. And that's usually not, YA mystery usually stinks, and that was perfect. Then my kind of contemporary set book, so I just spoiled one for you. Happy and You Know It by Laura Hankin. This one was so good. This is just mommy drama and insanity. I didn't think I was going to like this one as much as I did. Obviously, I requested it. This is an art copy. But, if I didn't already have this, I probably would have also got the Book of the Month version of it because I just really enjoyed this one. I thought this one was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. A Burning by Megha Majumdar. This one, for some reason, just, doesn't leave my head. I, think about this one often. I'm always curious, because I was so, not confused, but it was so thought-provoking that it's continued to be thought-provoking. And I'm still thinking about it and how this one ended and how much I cried. That is not a happy book, I will say. Dear Martin by Nick Stone. A well-loved book. I probably don't need to say too much. I'm the last person in the world to read it. I really want to read Dear Justice, but I'm waiting for the paperback. Sparrow by Mary Cecilia Jackson. I really haven't seen anybody talk about this one. This one is an arc. This was an arc. This came out back in March, and I read it, and I really enjoyed it, and I feel like I really haven't seen it too much around. It deals with some really, really hard topics, and I thought it was really well done, and I'm surprised I haven't seen it around more. And then this one probably should have went into romance, but I put it in general fiction just because it also has other storylines going on. But I put The Lake Season by Denise Hunter in here. It probably should have went into romance, but it's here. You know my love of her. The whole trilogy. I read the entire trilogy this year, so that doesn't say that I liked it. I don't know what to do. Nonfiction. This year my goal was to read 12. I read 11, and these were 3 that kind of stood out to me as ones that I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed a majority of the ones that I read this year, but these were ones that were really memorable to me. We've got The Only Plane in the Sky, An Oral History of 9/11 by Garrett M. Graff. If you haven't read this, you need to. This had me crying on page 1. I've heard the audiobook is phenomenal. I probably wouldn't have been able to handle the audiobook because it's so intense, but it's literally just like different quotes and excerpts from people about what happened that day, and it takes you from before it happened all the way to like after it happened, during it, when it was happening. This is heartbreaking. It even had like phone call voice messages that people got from their loved ones. I can't. It's an emotional read, to say the least. My Friend Anna by Rachel Deloche Williams. I know that a lot of people don't like this one, but for me, I was so addicted to this one. I had to keep reminding myself that this was real, that this really happened, and that this wasn't a fictional story, because this was crazy and intense. I know people said that it got kind of repetitive, and they didn't really understand why Rachel fell for Anna's story in the first place. But to me, I really liked this one. This one's about a girl who basically gets swindled by this girl named Anna out of so much money, and just like how it happened in their friendship, and just, it was insane. It was insane. Like I said, I really like that. I know a lot of people didn't really care for it, but I was obsessed with it. One that surprised me was Untamed by Glennon Doyle. This one has really stuck with me. I like think fondly about this book. Like, I don't remember a whole ton. Like, I don't remember exactly like what I took from it, but I just know that like when I was reading this, I was like, this really resonated with me. There were some things that I could take and throw out the window and I didn't care about, and she was really preachy about, but there were other things that I was like, yeah, I see that. And I just like look at it with fondness. I saw something on Instagram or something, and I had a freak out moment that I sold this and I didn't have it anymore. And then I remembered that I had 2 copies, and I sold the other copy and not this one. But I like had a panic attack that I didn't have this one on my shelf anymore for no reason, because I have it. So clearly it must have meant something to me. Then I've got my historical fiction section. We've got The Invincible Summer of Juniper Jones by David McQueen. I heard about this over on Instagram. It's a Wattpad story, and I really liked this one. This one's about a boy named Ethan, and he is biracial, and he's basically causing problems at home. So his dad sends him to go live with his grandparents in Alabama in 1955. Do you realize what a bad wake-up call that was for that kid? That kid had no idea that this type of horrible racism existed, and then you throw him to the wolves. And when he's there, he meets Juniper Jones, who is a doll, and you will cry at the end. I feel like that's my turn of phrase. If it makes me cry, if any book makes me cry, it will guarantee make this list, because if you can pull out that emotion out of me, I mean, I cry very easily, but if you can pull that emotion out of me, that means that it definitely hit the feels, and I liked that one a lot. The Arctic Fury by Greer McAllister. I just recently read this one. I gave this one 5 stars. It's about a whole bunch of women who go on an expedition to the Arctic to find this missing person. And we are following dual timelines of her on her expedition, and then her trial because she didn't come back with all the women, and what happened. So good. So insane. We read this as a group, and all of us have lots of feelings about this one. The Flight Girls by Noelle Salazar. I read this one with Kendra and Shelby back in January when it was Kendra and Shelby's book club, and we had a live show about this one, and we really enjoyed this one. This one is about Pearl Harbor, but like, well, like not Pearl Harbor specifically, but like World War II around Pearl Harbor, like on America's turf, which is really interesting because we get a lot of like European stories, and it was nice to see a woman's perspective with the Air Force in America. It was really intriguing, and we really, all three of us really liked this one. The Paris Hours by Alex George. This one is definitely one that I think I benefited a lot from reading this with a group of people, because we were able to talk about it and ask questions and really dissect this book, and I felt like this book really needed that. And it took me as a surprise, because I feel like if I read it alone, I don't know if I would have loved it as much as I did, but I really enjoyed it, so I decided to make the list. The Henna Artist by Alka Joshi. I think why this one's really making the list is because it was so different. Like I said, I feel like we get so many historical fiction books that are around World War II and Germany, and to have a story that takes place in India was a lot of fun and really interesting, and I felt like I learned a lot about that culture at that time, and I thought this one was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to reading more by this author. This one probably could have won fantasy or magical real. I don't know what to call it. But this is Magic Lessons by Alice Hoffman. This has to do with witches. So, like, I feel like it probably should have went under fantasy or something, but I didn't know where to classify it. I feel like some books just need to be in 3 categories. But this is the prequel to Practical Magic. So, it goes Practical Magic. The prequel is the Rules of Magic. And then this one is like the prequel of all the other 2. So, I don't know how to put it in order. This is the only one I've read. So, I'm going to call this one Book 1. And then Rules of Magic, I'm going to say it's Book 2, and Practical Magic, I'm going to say it's Book 3. It's not really how it goes, but I'm going to pretend. So this one is following Maria Owens in the 1600s, which was such an interesting time period, and even like the Salem witch trials, and I was like, I feel like I haven't read anything in that time period, and it was so much fun. It's very slow and lyrical, but once you're in this story, you are in this story, and I cannot wait to continue on with the other books in this series. Romance was really hard to dwindle down because of one author. So let's just get that one author over with. So Candy Steiner came out with a bunch of books this year, and I read all of them. So she came out with Ritual, which was book 5 in the Palm South University series, which I'm obsessed with. So obviously that one was phenomenal. She came out with a Christmas novella, which I bawled my eyes out and loved, and I gave 5 stars, and I never give novellas 5 stars. She came out with the companion novel to The Wrong Game, so she wrote The Right Player, which, again, phenomenal sports romance. She came out with Make Me Hate You, which is just a beautiful New England romance. She came out with Old Fashioned, which was the final book to On the Rocks series, which I love, and this one's probably now my favorite of the series, so I had to make this list. And then randomly, I read the duet of What He Doesn't Know and What He Always Knew. I left that one on my shelf. I didn't want to add it to the stack, because then the stack would really fall over. But I also read this duology by Candy. So basically, this would be my entire favorite romance section if I only included Candy. So she came out with lots of phenomenal books, and obviously I read some of her backlist too. So safe to say I'm obsessed with Candy in the romance world this year. But that's no new news, because that's old news. But some new news is I really liked The Best Man Problem by Maria Inkman. I know this is technically the second book in the series. I did buy book 1, I just haven't gotten to it yet. And I know book 3 just came out. I read this as a Kindle book, and I immediately purchased, well, I didn't immediately, it was a couple months later once I was off my book buy man, but the physical copy, because I just needed to have it. I love books about wedding planning romances. Why? I don't know. I just really do. Another one that I've read in a Kindle format and then had to purchase it was My Favorite Souvenir by Penelope Ward and V. Keeland. Again, this was a buddy read that Kendra and Shelby hosted and that I read as a Kindle because it was on Kindle Unlimited, and I loved it so much that I had to purchase it. I know it looks really summery, but I would read this in the winter time because this actually takes place with a snowy like wintry lodge. So I would highly recommend you read this in winter instead of thinking it's a summer read. But this one was so good as well. Had to purchase it. And then The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. I finally did it, guys. I finally read this one, and I loved it so much. I still have book 2 waiting for me on my shelf, but I will get to it, I promise. But this one, you were right. You told me. You've been telling me for a long time. I finally read it, and I loved it. And then the last favorite is The One for You by Ronnie Lauren. This is the 4th book in the Ones That Got Away series. It's a series of 4 books, companion novels of these girls who survived a shooting at their prom. And it's now years later, and now they're all friends. And it's their love stories. And this was the 4th and final book. I did read book 3 and book 4 this year, but I figured I'd just pull out book 4. I love this series so much, and I want everybody to read them. So there's that. So those are all the books that I loved this year. I've loved so many more than that. It was really hard to narrow it down. When you read 153 books, it's really hard to narrow it down. So I hope you guys appreciated me doing it this way. What are some of your favorite books of the year? Let me know down below, and I will see you guys really soon. Bye, everybody.